allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our agenda, would we have a motion to approve our agenda, or are there any things that we need to adjust?
A couple of adjustments I would recommend, Mr. Chair. I would recommend moving 10.2 at consent agenda on the reader board and putting it in the early items. We're going to get to that during the work session. Mr. Hedlund is here to advise the board on that. Okay. And then we have two late items that need to be added. 12.1, which is a mutual aid agreement with Lakeview Hospital. And 12.2, which is DMS Student Council overnight trip request.
Anything else? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented or amended.
So moved.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda with the amended items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Let's see, approval of our minutes from March 19th and our regular session and our work session.
I move we approve the minutes as presented. There was one word, it says work rather than word. I think it's on the work session, talking about taking out the work levy. It should be the word levy. Can't find it now, I read it. Oh, there it is.
Where is it?
Page 9.
26.
10-6 district goals. Wouldn't be a big deal, except that could be construed two different ways.
Word that
Yeah. We could remove the work levy too, we just go home.
Yeah.
So I move we approve the minutes with that correction.
So that's for the board minutes, board meeting, regular scheduled board meeting minutes?
So, yeah, because it was page 9, whatever that
So the motion's been made to approve with that.
It is.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. How about for work session?
was. Oh, you're doing separate. Separate, yeah. Oh, I thought I did all of them. I thought so too.
Oh, that's what I was asking. But on the work session, Dustin pointed out that he's listed that he was here for the work session, so he was not present for the work session.
Oh. You want me to amend my motion, or do you want to
Just
just
make a
do
motion
two?
then to approve the
We'll just do them
work
separately.
session. Do it separately.
I move to approve the work session minutes with the correction of Dustin's attendance.
All right. Second? All right, motion's made and seconded to approve the work session minutes with the correction that Dustin was not present. So, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So, minutes are approved. Correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there's an announcement here on the 6th grade science fair. Mr. Cahill, would you like to make that announcement?
Next week, Wednesday, as always, the 6th grade, we're doing a science fair, Union and Hay combined. It's always a very, very fun event. They have some interesting experiments. And then about 5 o'clock, they have a part with the parents and give out prizes. So, hey Jim all day. Feel free to drop in and check it out.
Oh, it's all day?
It's all day, yeah.
What day was it, all week?
All day,
Wednesday.
the 22nd, April 22nd.
Some people have guinea pigs there.
And then the winners will probably come and present to us later on. And
Yeah, that's usually, kind of the thing we always do, so.
All right, thank you. Public comment. All right. Hearing none, we will move on to early items, and that will be the reader board.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Hedlund is here to advise us on the status of the MOU with Reader Board.
Mr. Chair, the town of Lakeview has made, he previously approved most of the form of this agreement. The only change that's been made by the town of Lakeview is subsection 5, the content of sign announcements. We had limited it in the original proposal to the town of just town announcements related to emergency issues and air quality, and then school district announcements. The town wishes to allow for, if there's space, if it's not too backed up with too many other school events or other emergency or air quality notifications, to allow upcoming community events of general interest to be permitted, as long as it's being sponsored by a nonprofit, charitable, or similar community organization. Those changes are acceptable as far as a legal standpoint, because that keeps the reader board by the emergency services building out of what would be called an outdoor advertising sign, which would subject it to numerous regulations and licensing fees. So as far as from a legal standpoint, that is fine, but I know the board has expressed some concern previously about the reader board getting too many messages on there, so that's the change that they've made. So legally, that doesn't have any effect, but that's the major change that the town's requested, so.
And that would include the Lions, Rotary, Sir Optimus, OHA,
Yes.
Rocky Mountain Foundation,
Right.
Ducks Unlimited, Trots Unlimited,
Mm-hmm.
Little League, California.
If you're a nonprofit, community-based, if there's room, if room. But the school district has first crack at all announcements. I mean, obviously, we've got we've got a firestorm headed for Lakeview that probably is going to get initial airplay, and we're all gonna be okay with that. But as far as anything else, I think, like I said, it could get a little busy. I mean, that's the potential, but that's, like I said, it's not really a legal issue, it's a practical issue, so it's kind of up to the board to look at.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, there's so many nonprofits in our whole community, it would be very full, which is a good thing.
Mhm. I guess the only other practical comment I would make is that, again, people that are seeing that are driving by, so you have a limited amount of time to see it. So that's the only, you might want to think about proposing that maybe a limit of how many messages there could be in any particular day or something along those lines, like limited to 3 or 4 practically, but that's kind of your guys' decision.
I guess in theory, I don't mind the language in nonprofits, but implementing it is where the issues arise, that I see. The speed in which the messages go across, how many messages go across, what's getting out there. That's the problem with what, you get half a message and it's usually not even at the school, so. I don't know if it needs to go with the contract though, but it'd be nice to have some sort of group that maybe approve the message or kind of provided input on how much, how quick,
Well,
is it being effective?
it's at a hypothetical stage right now. We could probably do this adjustment and then make an adjustment if we're seeing that it's just too much. Yeah.
That was my thought, is that there would be more to advertise than what there's room for, I think, with all the nonprofits we have in town.
So then you're in a making a choice position. So how do you?
Well, I guess that's it, who makes that choice? I mean, who
The city,
decides
the
that
town?
the message is getting out there and quick enough?
Right now, it's EMS service personnel that
Right.
that upload those messages, so yes.
So they're under the direction of the town.
Yes,
So
For all
then
intents and
our contact needs to be with the town,
right.
Right.
the town. So if we don't like it, we need to tell the town this isn't working. They can direct their staff.
And I don't know that you need to get specific contractual language to reflect that. I think both entities have had a good enough working relationship that if there's a problem, it can be adjusted. This isn't something that has to be in a formal contractual. You only nail stuff down to that level if you don't trust the other party. If we didn't trust them, we wouldn't be entering into this relationship in the first place. So I think there's a lot of good faith between both parties already. So if it starts to be a problem, I think they'll be willing to limit it, so.
Jeff, what would you think about a time frame clause attached to that we will try this agreement and revisit it at a certain date and time?
You've got 6 months to be able to, that would be something you could add in, if there's also a 6-month, either party can terminate this with 6 months' notice.
Yeah, 6 months notice, but
I honestly
would
don't,
recommend we sign it.
I honestly don't see that you're gonna have that much of a problem. If it starts to get to be an issue and you're seeing that maybe school announcements aren't up there long enough, I think you just mention it and they'll make the adjustment. We have first priority, so we've gotten that priority in there, so we can assert that right. But like I said, I think a lot of this can be done informally. I don't think it's gonna get to the point where, and if the relationship breaks down that much, then you may wanna look at exercising a 6-month termination, but we're nowhere close to that. So I'd recommend, as far as, from a legal standpoint, I'd recommend signing it as is.
Okay.
I agree with that. I'd like to though see the school district maybe appoint some person to be the contact for
Who
the
provides
town, to provide that input. I mean, right now, I'm not sure who's.
We can handle that procedurally. I don't think we need to put anything in the contract.
I agree.
But yes,
Mhm.
yeah, that's easy.
Very good.
All right. So do we want to make a motion now to approve the contract?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as presented.
I second
I'll move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement.
Daryl goes first.
Jesse's second.
Did somebody make it?
You
just
did.
did.
Well, I wasn't finished.
it.
Okay, it's your first one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's a contract between Lake County School District 7 and the town of Lakeview concerning the reader board sign.
Did you complete?
I completed it.
Okay, I'll second your thought.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the agreement between the school district and the town of Lakeview regarding the reader board sign. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Um,
We'll make sure we get this officially signed by the various respective parties. I'll make sure we get something to draft because it's been approved. I and the superintendent can sign on behalf of the district, and then the town manager and then it will be approved by the mayor and tested by the town recorder. So
Maybe,
thank you much.
thanks. All right, reports, building report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the building reports are in the packet. Both building principals are here to answer any questions.
How'd the first voting day go?
Went really well. Got the gym this morning for targeting Andy Hay. We had a video. I didn't talk, Randy Harris didn't talk. Travis Randall came down. I got the police department. Spoke. So every morning we're gonna have a kickoff speech of some sort, about thoughts related to bullying and how to be kinder and gentler to your fellow individual. And hopefully that sinks in. Hopefully it works and get something done. So.
Pretty intensive.
I like the hand
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah. So.
By the way, the pencils that are
Oh,
replaced
oh,
are
that's-
part of that program.
Okay.
They are.
They're handed out to the kids.
Yeah, he'll get up at, tomorrow night, parent, 5:30.
Oh.
Yeah, matter of fact, you're welcome to come to any of the scheduled activities. And, anyway, so far so good.
Thanks for putting it in here, it was fun to read.
Oh, no problem. Friday, we're going to order t-shirts for every kid and a handprint and a t-shirt with the Lend the Hand theme. And that on the LHS football field, they'll form the image of a hand and somebody will take a picture from the crow's nest.
Any other questions, comments regarding the building reports?
Do the kids go to Klamath Falls, or do they visit KCC here on the 16th?
They were to go.
They were to go?
That trip got canceled. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Anything else? No. Thank you. Financial report, Janet.
Well, I don't have anything really out of the ordinary to report. Everything's pretty much in the status quo. I know that the buildings are kind of reining in, purchasing is winding down the year, looking more towards next year. So far, we're predicting to land about in the same place, about $1.2 million, which is where we ended last year, $1.256 million. We should be about $1.297 million roughly. I was looking at the other funds today. The cafeteria, of course, is going to require a transfer at the end of the year, which is pretty much status quo. And the athletic fund will also look for a transfer at the end of the year. Probably a good majority of what we have reserved, $137,000, to be able to have that fund. So I look for that. We'll know better in a couple of months. Well, I guess at the end, this is already April. So we should know pretty well, have that number hammered down by May as to what we'll need to be specifically. But I look for it to be the full amount by the June 30. So I really don't have anything that's outstanding. It's pretty much status quo.
Okay.
That's good.
Any questions, comments? No? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Thanks, Janet. To PACE, membership survey.
Yeah, very quickly, just a general report that goes out to their membership, the summary survey results. And it shows some data revolving around PACE and the most staff that they consulted most recently, and the biggest issues facing members, whether it's liabilities, or buildings, or whatever. So just put it in the packet for your perusal, FYI. If any questions, we can certainly pass along to PACE or further details if needed.
Thank you. Regional Solutions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just, this is a Regional Solutions Advisory Committee agenda with some memos, and it shows in there, because, we've been the recipient of a $500,000 grant from them through the governor's office for the finished work on DMS North Wing. And in here, it also identifies some of the priority projects, which includes the Innovation Learning Center. And so this has been one of the main movers and shakers for a lot of the grant funding that we've received that is associated with the ILC.
Yeah, saw the synchronous in there. Seeing that money come this way, or at least the effort to bring that money this way.
Yeah, they're looking at the ILC as a priority economic development project. They do.
So I've never heard a person call the governor's convener.
Be convener.
Convener.
Yeah, it's basically an assistant to the governor.
Oh, assistant. We'll have meeting.
Leader,
Meeting.
like the coordinator.
Yeah, she's the direct link out of the governor's office.
Okay, all right, okay. A title, it's a title. You gotta have a title if you're in government, that's right. You gotta have a title if you're in government. Okay, I remember.
That was interesting. Appreciate you putting it in there.
Good.
Okay, very good.
You know, we've discussed the concept for quite some time, it's just nice to see it in black and white.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
The DPSST report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see is just notes that I took during the DPSST training that we conducted here over spring break. I wasn't sure what to expect, and it broke every avenue of expectation that I had on the positive side, and I think Will was equally impressed. It was very impressive. And so these are just notes for the board to be aware of, that things that you don't find in safety training manuals, or that I picked up throughout the course of the day that all we need to remember too. Like a great example is the evacuation site. After the law enforcement goes in to make sure the situation is safe, then usually they escort the kids out to a processing area to where you can turn them loose to their parents or whatever. And one of the recommendations is that it's a warm covered area, simply because oftentimes in the rush to make sure everybody's safe, they oftentimes require them to drop their coats and their backpacks. And so suddenly they're in your street clothes, and if it's 20 degrees outside, because sometimes some of our convening areas might be a little chillier than that. And so it's just tips like that I was able to pick up on. And that we're talking as an admin team about how we can implement some of this stuff and be better prepared in our plans for in case there was a major event. As well as we're looking at the next steps. Originally we thought it'd just be 3 levels, and we've pretty much done, but we're adding another level in, which is going to involve some tabletop drills, particularly with the administrators. So we're going to do that towards the end of, or at the end of this school year. And then we'll probably be involving the entire staff in the fall, and then we'll be involving the students probably late fall. And again, a lot of that is going to be coordination with the I Love You Guys program and running through those procedures with both school staff. Hopefully EMS will be there and law enforcement will be there concurrently when we get to that point. But Will, any thoughts or observations you'd like to share?
Well, I just didn't want to be part of it, but the afternoon part of it changed, and we did live action drills involving some of Bobby's kids and some Boy Scouts. And it was a real eye opener for me.
Yeah.
How they approach the hallways, how they approach the classrooms. It was all live action stuff. The command leader, I don't know how many scenarios we ran that day.
Oh, quite a few, half dozen at least,
Yeah.
a bunch.
And the commander would say, okay, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you learn? And he would go through that with the EMTs and the police officers after each scenario. They'd debrief and talk it through and discuss, if you had to do it all over again, how should it really have gone down? So,
And it was stressful on the EMS and the law enforcement people. You definitely said it was very realistic, which was good. You want to take them through that. in a safe environment, so they're better prepared.
So was it the sheriff's department? Who from Lakeview participated?
We had the sheriff's department there, Lakeview PD, we also had Forest Service BLM.
Yeah.
We did not see any OSP, but,
And the EMTs, of course.
and a lot of them, yeah, the EMTs, and then a lot of them got called away that afternoon on a call, and so I just talked to Daniel Tate a couple of days ago, and he said that they're trying to schedule them to come back again, probably late October, so to ensure that we get a lot more involvement from law enforcement. Don't have any disturbances or interruptions, I guess you could say. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, they put the whole thing out from beginning to end. When we were entering the building, they got the metal detector and waved it, had the wand and wanded us down, I guess that's the appropriate terminology. And then, once you were clear, they tied a piece of yellow warning tape to your leg. They made sure it was the right leg, or in the afternoon, it was the mornings, the left leg, and the afternoon was right leg. Anyway.
Kids really liked it. I mean, there's a few that had to leave early for track practice. So they.
Well, the fortunate thing was Bobby was there, and I managed to talk Bobby into another scenario or two, and Bobby was fine with that, because I think Bobby's very friendly with the kids.
That's true.
We haven't had a safety committee meeting for a long time.
Yeah,
Might
I
not be
need to.
a bad idea while this is fresh in your mind.
Okay. Thanks for the update. State budget.
Okay. The good and the bad.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you will see a memo there, just giving you a quick budget update. I have not been paying attention the last couple of days whether the governor has signed this bill yet or not, but it has passed both the House and the Senate. It's a $7.2 billion funding structure. Janet and I are still working the numbers on our end to really figure out exactly what it's going to mean for us and the impact it will have upon our district. But there's a lot of concern revolving around it. Part of the bill that is moving forward, though, does indicate that about 40% of any additional revenue that the state is able to acquire through the May revenue forecast would be diverted to K-12 schools. So we're going to be anxiously awaiting that revenue forecast to see what it says. Is there an increase? Is there no increase? Is there a decrease? I don't think they're going to take anything away at this point, but we can certainly hope there would be an increase and we would see a little bit more into this funding package. Also keep in mind that the board is going to have to decide at some point, and probably sooner than later, in terms of full-day kinder. And keep in mind, you have two options, because the last $200 million of this $7.2 billion package is devoted to solely full-day kinder. In other words, you cannot access that last $200 million of funding unless you have a full-day kinder program in place. So, you know, it's scenario one is cuts plus full-day kinder, or scenario two is cuts plus no full-day kinder. What the cuts are, we don't know yet. You know, is it, we'll just won't be able to grow as fast as we want, is that the cuts, or are we gonna lose programs? Again, we don't know yet, we're still crunching through the numbers. But the cuts with option one or two, if you wanna use that term, is gonna be the same regardless.
Oh, okay.
And so you have to think in terms of, gee, do we want full-day kinder or not? And it's gonna be a communications piece, because if people see that they're losing something over here, but we're implementing something new over here, that doesn't feel very well. And it doesn't seem to equate, but that's exactly how the bill was passed, and that's how it is structured from the legislative level.
Yeah.
That is not our doing, it
Yes,
is.
because they wanted full-day kinder in their
Yeah.
funding,
Mhm.
and they were just tight on any other raise. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah. So we've been debating it a lot. Will and I have been having long discussions in regards to it, and, you know, it's hard to say no full-day kinder. I think we're leaning on the side that we probably just need to bite the bullet and do it, because it's the right thing for those kinder kids.
Oh, we're gonna have a presentation.
let's see, we put something together last board meeting, right, on fully kinder?
Yeah, actually, I handed the administrator meeting the other day, we can also email something the other day too.
Did we forget to put it in here?
Yeah, I thought I saw it
His
in
staffing
here.
implementation plan is in the.
Oh, yes, oh, so yes, it's coming,
Okay.
it's coming up,
Okay.
so you'll have more details in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and they've also sent out a estimate, if you will. Currently, we're at the weighted ADM, which is what we get paid according to, is $979, and we're gonna bump to $1,058 with a full day kindergarten, as far as what we can estimate coming in with. We're not gonna lose dollars, but we're really not gaining any ground either. So I think the difference per kid was about $300 over the grand scheme of the year, that we would actually be gaining. So, I mean, I guess the good news is we're not losing on the state funding. We're actually gaining, but we're not gaining, I think, what we want,
The
basically.
loss comes in, what your projections and the little bit you're gaining don't match. What you're gonna need for your roll-up costs are not being reflected in what we're seeing. That's where that loss occurs. And that's what COSA had put on our poster. Remember I told you it was a loss of 183 for students. Well, that was a comparison of what the projected needs were and where the revenue is coming in at. And so it's just two different ways of looking at that.
And this is based on a 50-50 split and on 7.225, which I think they agreed to 7.255 on a 50-50 split. So I expect that once the governor signs, I'll get a new estimate for the next year.
Okay.
So we'll have more
But
detail.
I think we're pretty close as far as what they've sent me so far.
Okay.
Well,
Great news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our old business, secondary elected certified pay and elementary staffing plan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you're going to have two presentations here. I think we'll start with Mr. Prock. And he has been analyzing the current staffing situation, the need for more CTE, and he's bringing you a recommendation tonight. Again, I would suggest you don't act on it until we have a better picture on the budget piece. But I'm very impressed with what both principals are bringing to you tonight. So, Steve, we'll start with you.
We've been spending a lot of time, the last month and a half, began with student forecasting. Mrs. Chalmers in early March goes, and this is high school, forecast classes, and for elective purposes, our kids get to choose first choice, second choice, third choice electives. And overwhelmingly, our kids are wanting culinary arts and computer tech electives. They're sending that message loud and clear. Also popular elective classes are veterinary science, our business classes, Spanish, small engines, welding, PE, and then strength and conditioning. And other considerations, and that forecasting drives the building of our master schedule, drives our staffing needs. So it's important work. We have a large incoming class of 8th graders that are gonna balloon that, the need for 3 sections across the board for freshmen for the next 4 years. Basically, we have upwards 75 to 77 kids in that class. So we're looking at, three sections of 25, 26 kids there, which in some classes, we've been able to get away with 2 sections. And when we build a master schedule, it's always nice to have balance. If you offer 3 sections of one, you want to be offering 3 sections across the board. It's awful tough it creates an imbalance.
and Lonnie could probably explain that better than I. As we continue to grow Avid, we've invested a lot this year and in the future with our Avid. We will need an Avid elect teacher, and that's usually just a one period with the incoming class, and it'll be with a current staff member. It's not a new hire, but it takes away a period from a current staff member. So it creates the need. If we do that for the next 7 years, which we'd like, that's going to be seven teachers teaching 7 periods of Avid elect as we grow that program. So looking at that, we built a preliminary master schedule. We plugged in our sections, and we really saw a need to hire an additional math and have our language arts position, which is the Simpson position, which is just a half-time position right now, extend that to a full year. That 1.0 that was approved by the board at the beginning of the school year that we never did fill is still hanging out there. And then we would want to extend the Mrs. Simpson position to full-time, which would add an initial three periods to that. That alone, I believe, is a bare minimum, because even with that, we've been able to add an additional math class. We've add 3 sections of personal finance. There's some things that allows us, plus it lowers our class sizes considerably across the board. But with that alone, we don't have any of our business, no business classes with that proposal. We would have to look at expanding our CTE program was another recommendation by posting that business, an ag engineering position, and a social studies. And I know social studies isn't necessarily CTE, but it will allow, if we hire 2 out of the 3 of those 3, just looking at best fit, best possible hire we can make, we have some flexibility in our current staff, and using the talents of our current staff as far as licensure goes. We could, if we hired 2 out of the 3 of that, business, ag, or social studies, that would allow us to really expand our CTE offerings, would expand some more electives, possibly in language arts, social studies, possibly art. So that would really free up the schedule, really add to our electives by having 2 of those 3, being able to hire those. I'd like to add 1 period of culinary arts and 1 period of Spanish to the existing schedule. Trying to twist June's arm on the culinary arts, and Mrs. Quinlan has already agreed to add teaching 1 more, but we have enough interest right now in the Spanish for 3 sections of Spanish 1 and 2 sections of Spanish 2. We've looked at adding personal finance. When we talk to kids that come back after their first year of college, we're always asking them how we did. And one of the major things that we're hearing is, wish we would have had like a personal finance, independent living type of class. They're just, balancing a checkbook and banking and auto insurance and the things that we had a personal finance class but haven't had it in a number of years. So we would like to add that for our seniors. It would take care of a major career component in graduation requirements that we're kind of piecemealing that right now currently through other classes. This would give them that career component, and it would give them an additional class for seniors, which sometimes is has lots of holes in it because of that, they're down to just limited required classes. And by adding, that we would be able to add an additional math class, talking with the math teachers, that we have a lot of kids that, remember, there's only a 3-year requirement for math. We have a lot of kids that are college bound that take 4 years. We have a lot of kids that are college bound that only take 3 years because they're not ready for pre-calc or calculus. Our math teachers would like to see this between Algebra 2 and calculus for those kids that would like to take 4 years of math, that are going to college. You know, what we're seeing is those kids are afraid of calculus, and then they're going in pretty blind to that math placement test in the spring when they apply for colleges, and they need to stay in math that 4th year. So by adding that math position, we'd be able to add that class.
I visited with Mr. Louie on math offerings, and one of the classes that has disappeared since I went to school, interestingly enough, is a year of trigonometry. I don't, trigonometry is often the skill you need so that you can do vectors in physics, and so that really comes as a deficit if you're following algebra 2, algebra 1, algebra 2, then pre-calc, because trigonometry is often the skilled class. I don't know if you had that discussion with him.
And the way the Common Core, we have to align our classes to the standards,
Yeah.
and we probably, they're doing some trig. We don't see enough trig in the Common Core to have a full class.
Yeah.
So they're getting it in maybe the pre-calc or calc or the algebra 2 a little bit.
Or the high school physics.
Yes.
So if there's an angle for a high school physics class, maybe they have 2 levels. The senior take physics kind of level stuff, and then there's the concepts of physics kind of discussion.
Yeah.
That's just a thing to throw out there.
We'd love to be able to do that.
Is there a point where they're gonna have to have 4 years of math? Weren't we ramping up, adding those requirements?
Right now, the state minimum is 3.
3.
for
You know, the
college.
colleges are always coming back and saying they think they may add that 4th year at any time to get into a college, but they just haven't.
Yeah.
And right now, they're still okay with just through Algebra 2, and that's what the state is saying too. But you sit with admissions counselors and they're saying, oh, this is gonna happen, but it hasn't yet, so. I hope they give us plenty of time.
They changed it. Was it for Quinn's class that they had more requirements for graduation? Seems like we eased it in.
We had a 4-year phase in,
Yeah.
yes, but that's been completed.
So,
Yeah.
so
3
math
years.
wasn't on.
So last year was the first year they had to be through Algebra 2.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so right now, Quinn's probably okay.
Yeah. Well, I know she's not going to Klamath Falls on the 16th, so that's why I asked. I catch up on my daughter at the school program.
So we've hit it, we've actually posted a math, language arts teacher.
Oh,
Oh, good.
you got it one.
Began some interviews, we're hitting some career fairs. The word out there is there's more positions, teaching positions than candidates this year in the state of Oregon.
Oh,
And our hiring window is open and closing fast. Obviously, our budget is late coming together because of projections that are late from the legislature. But I've been working with Janet and we're crunching numbers and would really love to be able to hire those additional people. We need them.
So in business, The business or computer, Lane's taking a math class and he's just now learning Excel.
That would be in our business,
Okay.
computer apps, yeah.
What our kids are seeing is, that's where our kids are, a group of our kids are heading every year to college, is that business. And so, you know, I did a forecast for some of the classes, but they talk about the web design, which we could go, the computer and business piece. They talk about having accounting back. We haven't had accounting, I want to say for 5 or 6 years now. The intro to business is great and marketing is great, but that's it, then we kind of stop. And so there's, you know, those older kids need something that's more advanced. So just if we could add, you know, 3 or 4 business classes, we would see, and we'll see the kids go in there because I kind of just had those informal conversations with them, so.
Well, the other thing I know that they do everything online and they talk to their professor for email. That was something that.
Everything on.
I'm not gonna say who didn't know how to do it. They knew how to do their laundry. Well, if you hear anything that we can do to help get people to come here, if there's more positions than people, then we need to do something to make ourselves be the place to be. We know it is, but especially when we're competing with
What'd you like the job fair?
Yeah, I'm on the job fair, and we had around 50 candidates in the secondary elementary applying seats. For the time being, I think we have a real opportunity to, you know, interview and get somebody here. I think it would wait quite a while, and I think the candidate pool is going to kind of shrivel up.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm hearing, same as Steve, so.
I think I went to the Western job fair, and that was great. It was my first job fair, and it was just really enlightening for me. And what I saw was, some people really know where Lakeview are, and other people just really don't have any idea, but the district office did a great board presentation, so they had us on the map and things, and so we've already talked about things we could do differently for next year. But we really had good conversations. It was a breath of fresh air, but the Portland job fair is the next day with a lot of out-of-state, big districts, and nobody is gonna commit, I mean, to a small district. I mean, but I think that they got, you know, great personal conversations with Will and I think they're gonna get that from, you know, Jesse and Steve and Susan when they go. So I think that's important. One girl, it was kind of funny, I'll go real quick. She goes, well, I came and played volleyball down there, and she was a special ed teacher, volleyball down in Lakeview, and I'm from Caboose, and it must have been a playoff game several years ago. And she goes, I never go to Lakeview, but she was telling her friends, you need to go to Lakeview. They were elementary teachers. You would love it though, it really is pretty, you know, she's kind of backtracking them, but she brought them over to the table. And so just having that conversation, I think, is good, because then she kind of looked at, well, there are some good things. You know, she's probably 23, 24, straight out of college. Yeah.
So we're really trying to ramp up on the recruitment this year, and we're seeing some good results thus far, but like Steve and Will were kind of intimating, the window is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, we posted, so for math teacher, 2 language arts, 1 improved last year,
No,
1.5.
just the language, the non-language arts, moving it to, which basically is a half-time, you know, going to a full-time. So I've posted those. And after our discussion tonight, I would hope to post the other 3, the business and the ag engineering and social studies.
what I think we should do is go ahead and post them so we can start that process. And then we'll have to see where the budget lands, and then we'll have further clarity at that point. We don't want to wait until the budget is
No.
clarified, that's too late. I mean, so we want to get them posted. We just want to make sure the board was aware of this before we did so, because it may, you might get communication that says, so you've already approved all this? No, it hasn't. We're just anticipating we're moving forward so we can make sure we capture that window of opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with next year's freshman, I mean,
Richmond, you
Yes, they-
kind of, just want to give you this first.
No, I think we could go.
Okay.
Yeah, cast that net.
All right.
All right,
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
And we have a job fairs coming up too, that we're sending people to. Jesse was at one today, right?
At Redmond,
At Redmond.
at the Sheets, and then you guys are, Steve and Jesse are going to Reno. When is that?
24.
Oh, Reno.
Volunteer for that?
They have a limited
It's quite a
time.
sacrifice.
If they win, they better share.
Well, you can go to my favorite meetings.
We're gonna take care of hiring and budget.
I have to say, at the career fair last week, I had absolutely no shame. I dropped the 3M card with several possible candidates many times. So, once they're out for me,
So Mr. Cagle, you have a,
Okay. Kind of a late breaking proposal, hopefully it's in your packet.
It is.
it is,
Good.
you need a copy.
Well, I've got one here.
Okay.
I am asking you for one additional FTE. Now, you were very generous in giving me the one FTE last year, which was half first grade at Union School and half kindergarten in town. The additional FTE that I'm asking for is for us to go to a full day kindergarten. So we would have 2 full-day kindergarten positions down at Fremont, one being Mrs. Lee and one being the new hire. Union School has grown to the point where I'm thoroughly convinced we need another FTE at Union School. If we look at a second and third grade class for next year, I have the numbers right here. I think it adds up to 22 kids. Mrs. Moore has, another high numbers as far as the kindergarten, plus this very large incoming first grade class. She's going to have a lot of students too. So it's time to go back and get a full-time teacher back at Union School for 3 full-time teachers. The other thing, recently Mrs. Tagg put in to transfer to the special education position being vacated by Mrs. Derry. After advertising on Town Head for almost 3 weeks, I did not get one single candidate for special education. So, I mean, common sense dictated, Mrs. Tagg, if you want to teach special ed, by golly, here you go. So,
So she's been approved for that.
yeah. So that's what my request, full-time kindergarten teacher, full-time Union School teacher, and then the transfer in Mrs. Tagg is FYI.
Okay.
So how big are the classes out of Union? K1? You got a big
I
first
can tell you right now, Union School, we have 11 in kindergarten, we have 14 in first grade, we have 8 in second grade, 2 in third grade, 6 in fourth grade, and 5 in fifth grade, and the sixth grade wants to stay out there next year. So that's the consensus on that. So we will send 6th grade or half 6th grade back at Union School again.
Okay, so that kicks our
So what's the total of that?
Total that right now, the numbers we have are, I'm looking on here. We have 46, then you probably with the potential of anywhere from 10 to 15 kindergartners, put up to 56. Yeah.
That's a big K1 class.
It is.
So if we, my concern is just having enough out there, not that that would be.
We're pretty good as far as being creative and juggling configurations
Yeah.
and reading groups and things like that. So it's
Because the
back
others.
in the days when Mrs. Albertson and Mrs. Spring and Miss Watts were all there, we did a lot of that, a lot of juggling around to, have the numbers fit the best scenario as far as, really enhancing the child's learning. So,
About 18 average.
the kindergarten thing, I'd really like to get on that right away, because thank God Mrs. Lee left Lakeview High School and came down and joined me. Because we were sitting in that room in June, late June, early July, trying to find a kindergarten teacher, and I'll tell you, it's pretty slim pickings.
Any other comments, discussion, thoughts?
Looks like a good idea.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you for all this. It kind of made me tired, though.
What?
It's a lot easier when you're actually in the middle of it.
Yeah. This kindergartner's doing all this stuff.
Well, yeah, you gotta keep busy. Not like old guys.
So what do we need? Do we need same?
I think we do the same. I think we just advertise for the positions. Jan's working hard on the budget as far
And
as
we're
she
trying
can.
to implement, you know, counting numbers with what they're requesting now, so we get a better picture.
And we should have a better picture shortly. But in the meantime, we've got these positions we're starting to advertise for and
Okay.
looking at.
Yeah, so please advertise, yes.
Yeah.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Advertise and then get some numbers and so we can.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Advertise.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah,
All right.
thank you. Thanks, Michelle, you gave us a lot of information. Appreciate it.
Good job. Okay. All right. Ag fund update, Jan.
Well, we've been kind of working together, Daryl and I have, in regards to making sure that that well gets turned back on this summer. I met with Rayson Sims, Sean and I both did, and, probably, currently we run, irrigation water out of the ponds out here. And so last year, I think they shut us off because of lack of water, that July 20th, so we are probably figuring on to afford that this year. So we do have the well out there. We'd like to put a pump and add some main line, so when we do discontinue the water out of those ponds, we can start running water out of that well down there and irrigate that way. Their tonnage was down last year, but that's because they shut the water off July 20th. It's just grass hay down there, so it's not like it could have went a little bit longer than it did. So we're kind of looking for that. Been in contact with Justin via Mrs. Henning to get them squared away with that. He said he was pretty scattered around the country, so he wouldn't personally be able to change the water lines, but that he might consider hiring an FFA kid that would want to come and change wheel lines twice a day, or whatever the set may be. So that's what we're working towards right at the moment. I've got some line on main line. I think you might have some lined out too. We've got a couple of pumps that we're trying to figure out best cost on. We do have some money in the ag farm fund that we could get that done with. So we're looking at that. We probably have a better update probably next month as far as the main, what main line we could get our hands on that was reasonable plus another pump.
Yeah, we'll get it done pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I think we'll have some main line without any cost. And there's a pump I think we can put down the well and it won't handle the whole thing, but at least have us use some water.
Yeah, that was imperative.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if that doesn't work, I have an extra one set in my place. We put it on hold. Use it for a while till we get some. So,
And that's also gonna include Surprise Valley Electric coming out and giving us a little bit more power to us.
How long has it been since we?
use the well. Well, I've been harping on it for 20 years.
Has it been that long?
It's been longer than that.
Have we had anything with Jeff Casey?
Oh, it's intact.
Yes.
I expect those 30 years.
Been that long.
I've been here 21 or 22, it's never been used since I've been here, but I think the properties in CRP for 10 years part of that.
And in my conversations with Mrs. Henning, that the dryland piece across the way is also, they let it rest a year, this last year. So June 30th will be the full year on that, and I think they were gonna try to figure out what the next steps for that, because it did get overgrazed and, pretty heavily damaged. So trying to figure out what, with her ag advisory committee too, so, and I've been kind of helping and sitting in on that. Okay.
No, at least some movement.
Good.
Thanks for the update.
Yep.
Thanks, Darrell. Okay, new business. Graduation ceremony discussion.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Ms. Chavez is here to talk to you about the upcoming graduation ceremony, and she needs some decisions made, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
So each year we come to you guys on the opening and welcome and then the awarding of diplomas. So the top copy is this year's draft that we just started for the program. And that copy is last year's, so it shows kind of what we did. It looks like Pete did the welcome, and he also awarded diplomas with Mr. Gallagher. So, the question is, it's up to you guys whether we go that opening and welcome, how you want to do that, who you want to do that, as well as awarding the diplomas. I know that some years it depends on if any of you guys have seniors, and I think we have one. So, really that's your guys' discussion. And if you don't want to make a decision tonight, we can do it.
Yeah,
In a couple weeks.
You're gonna do it?
I don't have any problem awarding the diplomas.
Oh,
Does
right.
somebody else want to do the welcome? Not everybody jump up at once.
So what's the extent of welcome?
You get to say a few words to the graduates and the parents and the attendees there. It's very short.
Welcome, okay.
And you can
Well,
combine the
you
opening
should say
and
more than
welcome.
welcome.
I said, I don't know, I just didn't.
Okay,
4 or 5, 10,
I'll
5
give
minutes.
a 5-minute welcome.
Okay. Well, be nice.
All right. Coach me in on that. We'll have a discussion on that one. Won't be more than 5 minutes.
That's good. We have 4 valedictorians and 1 salutatorian this year, so it's your first couple. We're gonna keep you on time, Laura. No.
I'll bring the cattle prod. Exactly.
All right. Okay.
I think you do a great job.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. 3 minutes, you guys.
All right.
All right. Well,
So, let's see, OSBA policy update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, first reading only. I would say just probably read through the OSBA summary there, and then next time we'll have a little more in-depth discussion about the highlights of those policy updates and what most we recommend, unless you have specific questions now.
Anybody have any specific questions?
yes. Ready for the budget?
Okay, budget calendar.
You awake?
I'm here. So, I am a little bit behind times, but I felt that we should wait for the governor to kind of get committed on one way or the other, and I think we're there on that piece of it. So I would like to have the very first budget meeting be May 12th. Of course, here at 6 p.m. And just do a general budget message, establish a few procedures, elect the officers, and start receiving input on the general fund. And then follow that by a second meeting on May 19th. And then, if needed, a third on May 26th.
So when you're saying here, oh, you want to have the budget meeting in this room as opposed to down in the high school, whatever? Library. This would fit about everybody that comes. Yeah, sure.
It's cooler in the cafeteria. It's hot up here. I have a school board meeting on the 26th on my calendar.
On a Tuesday? I
Yeah,
have
Tuesday.
May 25th.
Monday.
Isn't that
Memorial Day.
Well, let's not have a third meeting. Ha!
Yeah, there we go.
Kidding. So we could change that to May 27th, to be the Wednesday, if that works.
May 27th?
Or even the 28th, which would be a Thursday.
Yeah, well, the Wednesday.
Let's see, you gotta post it by, if we decided on the May 19th meeting, do you have enough time to post the third one? Or do you have to give,
The first and the second one, no less than 5 days prior.
so we have enough time
Oh,
if
yeah.
we decided on the 19th when to have the next one?
Yeah.
If we had to have one?
If we had to have one, yeah.
We haven't had them for a while.
Okay.
Actually, if I remember right, I think you have to post all of them together
In paper in
in the
advance.
paper in advance or some laws.
We can,
You do a first notice and then you do a second notice of 5 days. Each notice has to be within no earlier than 30.
Right, but the notice has to include all
Mm,
possibilities.
yeah. Well, that's still good.
Could just do the
Wednesday's good.
26th or 27th and then.
Yeah.
So if you just change 25th, 26th, 26th, 27th,
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
Now, if you needed to change it, that would be different, then there's another separate process with that, but you could do it.
Oh, and it is, okay. So regular, well, the regular school board meeting, I think is correctly posted on our school board meeting calendar.
26th.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 26th and 27th, right?
We need a motion.
Yeah.
I move we approve the budget calendar.
That's a good.
Budget calendar. With the change of, do I need to correct the school board meeting?
Yeah, because I have it listed.
Okay, so change the regular school board meeting to Tuesday, May 26th, and third budget meeting to Wednesday, 27th.
Yes.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the budget calendar with the corrections. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Budget committee member. Janet.
Oh, yeah, I want it. So we had 2 applications, or 2 letters of interest, rather. And I think you guys both have all both of the letters in your packets there. And I guess we just need to have an appointment. It'll be a remainder of one person for a remainder of 2 years is what we need to fill as a vacant position.
1%. Yeah, Amy,
Yeah, she has
good quality.
fiscal.
Joe,
We'll entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Amy, what was that last name? Kinsley as a budget committee member.
I'll second. and seconded to appoint Amy Kinsley as our budget committee member to fill the last 2 years of the 3-year term. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
Who seconded that? Dustin.
So we'll get a note out to her. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. And then also to the other individual, thank them for their interest.
Yes,
Very much.
yes, I will.
Okay. Item 5, the 2015-16 instructional calendar, first reading.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is first reading. We're going to have Mr. Prock present on this. A lot of people have lended some input to this calendar. There's some new and interesting characteristics to this calendar that will be presented next year. It's a very interesting calendar year, just how things fall. And that's going to influence some of the things that are proposed in this calendar. So, Brock?
First thing that stands out is that, Labor Day's on the 7th, so that's latest possible start. We start on that Tuesday, traditionally, the last couple of years anyway, we started with orientation day on the 8th. Our first day of school is the 8th as an orientation day. We're once again recommending that to get the schedules out. The middle school kids in, go through a shortened schedule, get all the kids in, get their schedules, lockers at the high school level. It's been very successful. It's kind of that compromise between, not having school until Wednesday and getting started, especially this year with it being the 8th of September, the latest possible if we can. With that late start, it also, remember we have to have 190 teacher contract days. So that puts us pretty late, and that goes into the 3rd week of June if you do a 2-week Christmas break. So you'll notice on the calendar that there's not a full 2-week Christmas break. We're actually in school that Monday and Tuesday, which allows us to finish up the 2nd week of June rather than going into the 3rd week of June.
Oh, okay.
Looking at, when we spent a lot of time on this calendar, we looked at a lot of other districts, and it's about 50-50 whether the districts across the state are starting before Labor Day or after Labor Day.
Ask you that, just because it's so late.
Yeah. And we traditionally have always started after Labor Day, no matter where the day falls, because of the roundup. And I ran some things by our site council, and they talked to some community people, and nobody was in favor of starting before Labor Day.
Even though it costs them Christmas.
Well, this is community
Mm-hmm.
members,
Yeah.
so site council, the community folks from our site council thought it would not be well received.
Yeah, 2 days, not bad.
And I'll let Ruth Ann got this out to some staff, and she's got some comments, and I'll turn it over to her after I get done with my piece. As you notice, the shaded Wednesdays, we're recommending a late start. We'd like to call it School Improvement Wednesday. Professional. We're going to run all of our professional development rather than have full-day professional development days. We're asking for a late start. We're going to start school an hour later on those Wednesdays. There's, I believe, 35 of them. A lot of districts are going to this because it's just a continuous cycle of professional development, rather than just that full class, full day, and then teachers never have a chance to really reflect and get together and implement what they learned. So This would be scheduled, this would be required, the teachers would come in at the same time. The kids would come in just an hour later, and it'd be just a shortened schedule on every Wednesday,
Just an hour.
an hour.
That'd be more digestible for,
But we were, thinking like the first Wednesday is always Avid. The second Wednesday is always maybe PLTs, professional learning teams. Third Wednesday could be department meetings where teachers don't hardly ever get a chance to get together in their departments and meet, talk about plan core statements, common core state standards. And then maybe we would do all of our staff meetings once a month, where we would do it, we'd dedicate one of those Wednesdays to our staff meeting rather than do it after school.
This is pretty much every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. One thing I noticed in this year's calendar, seemed like with sports and our long travel distances, the kids were out of school for like almost a whole day to travel to Cape Junction or something, like on Friday, but the Monday before was an in-service day or something where we didn't have school. So now that week, kids missed 2 days of school, versus if those things align, they'd only be missing 1 day of school. So with this late start on Wednesday, any thought in putting that like a early release on Friday? And Friday is typically the day that all the sports happen consistently throughout the year, and so kids are missing an hour less of school each Friday when they are taking part in sports, and that's probably, what, 30% of our students?
Well, commonly, first of all, just because we don't have school on a Monday doesn't mean Cape Junction doesn't have it on a Monday, and you do your league schedules. But I like the late starts because you have a captive audience. If you have teachers that are coaching, they're gonna be gone.
oh, I see.
They're gonna miss the professional development. The thing about doing it in the morning is everybody should be there. There's nobody going to practices, nobody going to games. All your folks are there.
Oh, yeah, and you pick the day, the non-game day.
I think it's important. I think that's important, but I think teacher missing 1 or 2 professional development days versus kids missing school hours, I'd probably lean more on the kids.
But you're talking about 30% of the kids at the high school. What about the elementary? They're not missing school. And so they would just be missing school with no instructional time. So I don't know that really solves the problem of kids not missing school.
I'm just concerned that the late start, right now, kids get on the bus, their parents take them into school about the time that they're going to work around that 8 o'clock hour. And if you put that out, how are the kids gonna get to school, the elementary kids or the high school kids? It's gonna affect the parents' schedule where maybe in the afternoon, they're already going to some sort of daycare facility or some place that is set up for them. And so it may be easier to adapt in the afternoon for those kids that need a place to go versus the parents rearranging their entire schedule for the morning for that 1 extra hour.
And that was one of the concerns that Mr. Cahill had, that we don't really have at our level.
That's, I was gonna, Klamath County does late start every Wednesday as well, don't they?
Yes.
We can get a little Klamath County and talk to them and see how they.
They still go
figure
through.
How they answer it, but
They still go through each period though, other than the high school kids. They still have first through seventh periods. It's just shortened up.
But the last time I was there, they didn't have it every Wednesday, but it would be for 2.5 hours. They start was 10:30.
Yeah, I
So
think
now they're
they've
going
changed
every
it.
Wednesday
Yeah.
for an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think,
a lot of Ben Lapine, all of Ben Lapine is doing either a late start or an early release.
So on those Wednesdays, we are dropping for the high school and junior high class. It would just be
A shorter.
a shorter
Just a shorter
period.
period.
Shave 10 minutes off each class and then they still
Yeah.
participate
Yeah,
in all
it'd be
classes.
a Wednesday schedule. It'd be-
Same with elementary too, you know, reducing the time to the reading and math and science blocks and all that stuff.
Okay.
I think County starts like at 9:11 instead of 8:11.
Right.
Is there?
Well, and if they're doing it other ways, that'd be another thought would be, if you want kids to miss less or have less of an impact on parents, you do it a longer period of time every other Wednesday. But I don't know if that works, if it gives you enough time to do what you did with your teachers, you know, to meet. That's kind of an unrealistic block of time, and then you probably can't hit every class, you know, with that. But if class time is a concern for the kids, I don't know.
This year's calendar, we got 4 professional development days.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Basically, what we're proposing is we're eliminating professional development days in lieu of this hour.
Oh, okay. So there's these other days of the week that just now become full-day teaching
Right.
because you've put this in here. Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were giving up. Yeah, okay.
So we're going to start in the year and adding these other, or is it going to increase this school year, the calendar days? Because kids go to school?
No, it doesn't increase the calendar days.
We're still over hours on all grades.
We are.
Yeah.
Seat time, we're fine.
Okay.
I guess one thing I will bring up, an OER amendment came forth to the state legislature to add or bring K through 3 up to 900 hours. Currently, we're at 875, but they said we could add 60 recess to that, so that puts us way over. So in essence, as far as our seat time, we're fine.
We're over at the high school as well. We're about 1,008 instructional hours. 990 is the minimum. So we're about 18 over, 7 through 11. We're about 18 hours over, and we're 15 hours over for our seniors.
So if why do we have to have December 21st and 22nd? If we're,
They can make up for that late Labor Day start, so it doesn't put us into week 3 in June.
Yeah.
It's not the student hours, it's the
It's
teacher's
the
contract.
contract days, you have to have 190.
Because I asked that same question, because I'm like, well, gosh.
yeah, that and then,
That's it.
I still
Okay.
think we ought to put
Who's
too
that?
that day
I
on
mean,
Wednesday
oh,
before
oh.
Thanksgiving.
Those 2 days are calculated in the student hours. So we're talking about how many hours are going. Those 2 days are counted, that's 16 hours. So I mean, we'd be over by 2 hours and we'd be short with the seniors an hour. So,
Keep in mind that the tolerance has gotten a lot tighter. We've been traditionally way over the minimum. Now we're just gonna be over the minimum just by a few hours. And that will also, they also eliminated the snow day effect. So if you said what, 15, 16 hours over? So you got 2 days there essentially. So if you have 3 snow days, then you can pick up one.
Okay, so we're ranking on a good snow year.
Buffering.
Alrighty.
We're only counting, on my calculations, we're only counting 16 hours for conferences and 16 hours for professional development. You can count 30 if you need be.
Yeah.
So we could actually, if we had a great opportunity to bring in a full day guest speakers for a professional development day, we would still be within, we could use that as seat hours, not lose the seat hours, because you can use up to 30, and right now we're at 16 on my calculation.
What was the feedback on going, okay, so we're using Ben's time. They go into the 3rd week of June, I think. They also take all of Thanksgiving off, and I would almost bet they have 2 weeks of Christmas. But I think for them, it's because they have so many kids that are gone. Anyway, but what was the feedback on doing that so that you could, I just think 2 weeks of Christmas is good for teachers to have that
Well, I just,
break?
you have to ask Ruth Ann on the feedback, you know, with having kids in the third week of June, I don't know how effective, you
Yeah.
know, we're.
How antsy you
Well,
are.
is it gonna be any more effective than having kids the 21st and 22nd of December?
I think so, yeah.
But lots of school districts
But,
do go
because
through.
you have unconditioned, air-conditioned buildings here,
Good
could
point.
have, kids are, you know, ready to check out, so are teachers by that point. I think you're looking at a one-year deal here, and that's what
Oh, okay.
we have to remember. I think next year we can get back to the full 2 weeks, we just have to bite the bullet this year.
We had a short break a couple of years ago.
We did,
And
we did.
the last couple, and last year was phenomenal, we had a long break. So it goes in a cycle, it's not a standard, it fluctuates. I remember we've had this discussion every year, and some years were, wow, it's more than 100 years, but, and you just have to go with the flow. I agree, by the time you roll into June, it would be pretty tough to drag students and teachers back the 13th and 14th. It would be like,
Graduation's on the 4th.
yeah.
Yeah, we're back to that first Saturday after Memorial, which is tradition. We're not, this year we weren't able to do that. We didn't want to graduate them in May, we didn't have enough instructional hours. So we're graduating this year on the 6th.
Yeah. Although the year before we graduated in May.
We had to get a waiver for the seniors because they were under their hours.
Okay.
And we weren't interested in asking for that again.
Okay,
No, that makes sense.
well, I find some promising things here.
So the site council had some input, what was their input on the start Wednesdays? Any?
Yeah, they liked it, and like I said, Ruth Ann has been really helpful on this, and she's kind of got it out to some teachers, and could probably give you some comments there, feedback from teachers.
As far as the late start goes, there was more clarification that I needed to give to teachers as far as time. You know, we would still show up at 7:30 and we would have whatever training till 8:30. And then we'd go to our rooms and then the kids show up at, you know, and the first bell to start first period starts or rings at 8:54, so 1 hour later. And, oh, okay, that sounds like enough time to get done what we need to. So there was that, but then I did hear from elementary teachers and actually a parent who's a teacher, you know, of that issue of, okay, it's a late start, what do I do with my kid? I have figured out the other 4 days to get them to school, what do I do on that day? It's something that I will have to figure out myself, I don't know. Maybe bring your daughter to work Wednesday, I don't know. She really likes school, so maybe I'll do that. So I think that's something that needs some consideration. So that was probably for the late starts, mostly what I heard about that. As far as the start date on the 8th, I only hear from a very select few, and by that I mean less than a handful of teachers who feel that it doesn't work. And by that, I just mean that, you know, the kids are too tired, they've been too busy, that, I only hear that from like literally 2 teachers. Again, I hear that the organization of the orientation day needs to be done a little bit differently. How it looks at the high school, middle school doesn't work at the elementary, and so some tweaks at the different buildings, and maybe that day would work better. And then as far as November goes, you know, with the conferences and then Veterans Day being in the middle of the week, I didn't really hear anything. At Christmas, surprisingly, I didn't hear anything. Whether they didn't notice that, I don't know. Did you notice that?
And we noticed.
But I do think teachers would rather do the shorter Christmas, like, for 1 year,
Yeah.
than go the third week, I think so.
Yeah. And as someone who, you know, kind of every other year we go to Arizona, yeah, this is possibly an issue, but it is what it is. So, we'll just go somewhere closer. Right? So that was probably really all that I heard. I didn't hear any, you know, anything too drastic that was an absolute no, how could we even think of this kind of thing. So that was
Okay.
the general overall.
How was the discussion around starting before Labor Day? Was that proposed as starting before Labor Day and going through the entire week, or?
A little bit of both, yeah. We talked about going just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for 3 days.
Yeah, the fair going full more on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Because I know you did that, you could take care of your, starting on Tuesday after the fair, and you could take care of your 2 days of Christmas. But I guess I hear quite a bit more from folks about fair than 2 people. Starting the day after. For parents, it seems to be a bigger issue maybe than for teachers.
But what I think is interesting about that, last year, Steve has told me with middle school, the middle school are the only kids who are required to go. I mean, the high school kids could take 5 minutes at 2:55, pick up their schedule, they count. Middle school actually has to be there. There was 1 kid missing. So
Well,
they like to go
We've
to
done 2
school.
years now. I've had a middle schooler lose each of those 2 years, and I tell you, I don't like it. I mean, that's just the truth of it, I don't like it. Our kid gets there, but he isn't productive, he's tired. It's a waste of day, in my opinion, it doesn't work for us as parents, but.
But I can tell you as a teacher, it's a great way to start. I get them for 15, 20 minutes. It's enough time to get a few things lined out, to give them an assignment. They go, and I had a great first day.
And I've had dozens of parents compliment and appreciate that day.
I've had a middle schooler for 2 years, and I appreciated that day because of the fact that those middle schoolers need a day without those high schoolers there.
My concern has never been whether we should have it. I've just always wanted that first day to be Wednesday, so that all of the teachers that are at the fair for the last 4 or 5 days are just, that, the kids do fine. I mean, they're, like you say, they're tired, they're not, but they don't have, you know, they just have to be there. It's the parents and all of the teachers that have been at the fair since Wednesday or Thursday before. But it is what it is. When we have a roundup and before school starts, you just gotta, you know, do the best you can. I do agree with having the middle schoolers be there without the high schoolers, now that the middle school's in the high school. I think that's really, so. But this, I think it also will be very important to say this is 1 year. That made the difference for me when you said that because it's so late, next year will be different.
And two, if the late start doesn't work like we think it will, then you adjust, you know? If it is a logistic nightmare, instead of, you know, working smoothly, then you can adjust it.
It does have to be district-wide though, doesn't it, because of the bus? So the buses run. Yeah, you can't do something different at elementary.
I think for that before Labor Day discussion didn't really take place because I think that, in my opinion, and I think I heard this from others, was that this community likes to have that off and to start after Labor Day. So it's kind of one of those things that's just always been in place. And so I don't think that, you know, we really had that strong discussion. And I think if you guys see it as maybe something to have, that might be different because I think it's a community. I really feel like school starts, it's really community driven. I didn't see that when I first came to Lakeview, but I see that now, that it really is, it's a big community and the school's that big part of the community. So,
Does Paisley and North Lake start after Labor Day?
Paisley did last year. They started before Labor Day last year.
That's what
That
I
was
thought.
the first year I saw them do that. Do you?
I know they have.
Yeah, I don't know if it was other years, but last year I know they did.
I was in favor of starting, my proposal was going to be to start before Labor Day. But after listening to the site council, the parents, after they got the feedback from the community, they changed my mind.
It's only 1 year though.
Yep.
No, I think this would be, you know, I would like to start that every year.
Well, you've got all the practice, so moratorium week is last week in July, right? I'm pretty sure it's Monday, so 31st, what is moratorium week. So there's no practice the last week in July. And then, so practice probably starts August 3rd, or well,
Practice
August
starts like
1st.
that. No, practice starts like that 18th, I want to say, without looking at the calendar,
Yeah.
17th, 18th.
17th is a
Yeah,
Monday.
'cause that's what,
17th.
yeah.
17th, so,
We
oh,
actually
yeah,
have,
camp the week.
we actually have, since the calendar, also, we have volleyball and football games fairly this year.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that probably ought to come into this conversation, because it's gonna come up.
Yeah.
Okay, are we okay to move along?
Well, I know that we need to get this approved. It's first reading, but.
First reading.
First reading.
I think that the proposal's solid. I think that we'd probably still like a little feedback. I'd like Will to maybe visit with Clarence and
Yeah, why don't I bring a report back as far as childcare and the slate.
because I think when we approve this and our word gets out, we better have some.
So I'll bring you back a comprehensive report on that.
Okay. Great.
So there are games before school starts, week of the fair, volleyball and football.
That's important.
Do we have a date for a football game?
Thursday.
It is Thursday.
Is it an away game or a home game?
Oh, it's away.
We tried to get here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, all right.
So we're gonna have kids having proxies to show animals during the market shows.
No, I think there'll be proxies for the. Sorry. All right.
Can't you judge a market animal while standing in its pen? Mr. Extension?
I have to show them what to do with the 17th. Let's see. Moving on to our temporary summer positions.
Jen?
Yes, between myself and John Roberts and Doug Petro, we've discussed how we were gonna work out the summer, maintenance crew as far as temporary positions with students. The first order of business, though, they would like to have Joel Morris come in, intermittently, like we did last fall. We did have that approved. And we'd like to continue with him intermittently. It kind of helps John Roberts out a little bit to be hands-on a lot of this stuff, because he can send Joel to do some of those things. We're also looking at, Mr. Roberts is going to be tied up at the Union School with the playground installation and various projects that are happening out there. And so we thought that the intermittent piece with Joel would work well. Along with that, we just wanted to reiterate that, because it was prior approved, but we were bringing him back on, just to keep you apprised of that. And as far as students were concerned, John noticed a pretty good concern last year of working the kids 410s. He felt like they lost a lot of focus staff for 2 hours in the day. So he's requested that maybe we do a 5-day work week and make it a 35 to 40 hour week, dependent upon, you know, what's happening, or if they get rained out, they can't mow the lawn or cut the weeds, or, you know. But I do know that he has several projects lined out, making a list. In fact, today he told me he would like for them to help clean the buses out, inside and out, complete detail. So that could be partially an inside job, be inside the bus to do that, you know, on that piece. But we wanted to keep it flexible, but we also wanted to only bring on 3 positions. So use Joel intermittently and bring on 3 positions of students to help him with the grounds, and then, pick up Doug Claus. He didn't really want anybody, he thought he could be okay, and Tatro, he's got plenty to do, but didn't think he needed another body with him. So mostly it's gonna be under John Roberts at this point. So we're seeking approval for 3 temporary summer positions for students, basing that on 35 to 40 hours a week. Last year, we're proposing a 10-cent an hour raise, so for anybody that's newly hired would be at $9.20, and then anybody that would be returning from last year, we could bump them up to a $9.35. And then also Joel was approved at the rates that we have this year, which is the 9.10 and the 9.25. We would propose to finish him out to June 30th at the 9.10 just for that piece that he's doing there, because obviously he's doing bus routes also on the other end of that. Bumping him to the 9.35 as a return employee, but keep in mind, we'll just use him intermittently. He doesn't want to be 40 hours a week. He's got other projects going in the community, obviously. And so he would just pick up where John might be absent at Union, but he needs to get home down here. He can help with, keep an eye on the kids. John wants to take the approach of very much hands-on, teach the kids stuff and make it a learning experience along with having a job. So,
How many did we hire last year? Did we just hire 4?
Oh, we did. We had 4, and then we're working 10-hour days. So, and John has big plans. He's wanting to tear out old shrubs and clean things up that way. So he's got lots of list projects for them.
Is 3 enough then?
Well, and I've talked to him about that, to make sure, that he didn't want 4, but he seems to think that he can get by with the 3. And with a limited budget that we're gonna have as far as what's getting approved, we're gonna be teeter-tottering on 2 different budget years, obviously, so.
We have a big long list of stuff.
We do have a big long list, yes.
There will be better supervision with
Yeah.
his team
Yes.
with our current configuration, so that's one of the rationale for going 3 rather than 4.
And two, they will also, there's times that Mr. Claus will want a little backup help or whatever, and he can shift 1 or 2, whatever, that way for a day or whatever. But his main concern too was 4 10 was awful hard. I can't do 4 10, so I wouldn't expect a 17-year-old to do it. I can't stay focused.
What?
All right, we need a motion to approve this request. I move that we would approve Janet's request for
Yeah, summer appointment.
summer plan.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll second. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the temporary summer employment proposal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Teacher Appreciation Week.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up May 4th through 8th. District office has already got some plans in motion to honor our teachers, and I know the building principals. They do a lot of annual events also, but the board always likes to discuss what they would like to do for the Teacher Appreciation Week. You want to do something formally or just informally, or a number of different options.
Well, did you guys know what we sent? We sent flowers for the classifieds. They're having a lunch or something? Do you know? They're having lunch?
Monday will be donut day, Wednesday will be parents club lunch, either Tuesday or Thursday will be the classified posting for the teachers.
Do you want me to coordinate that?
A lot of the teachers wear days out.
On Friday
More than
evening?
happy to help with that.
I mean, it's complicated.
Didn't we do something, well, that was in district office.
But we have done something like that
Yeah.
on behalf of the board in the past too. And we can still do something with that. Rebecca?
What you're doing, yeah.
We could even get, you guys some ideas, maybe email some ideas to you. See what you think.
All right.
If there's something you'd like for us to do. So there's some really creative things out there.
Yeah.
So we've come up with-
Pinterest has all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so we don't want to burst with bubbles.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So high school lunch is on Friday, Steve, do you know that for sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so our consent agenda, we had, the reader board already approved, so we need to go through sixth grade field trip, chaperone approvals. We reviewed that. That's anything there. Funding grant, FTE update, school colleges, track coaches. Anything that we need to pull out, or any questions?
No, I'll move we approve the consent agenda, post the exception of the report.
I'll second.
So the motion's been made to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the grading board agreement that was already approved. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Anyone opposed? All right. There's announcements.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we have a, oh, sorry, you're good.
Late items. We had a 12-4.
Yes, the Lake District Hospital agreement. Janet?
Sure. I think you have hard copy of the mutual aid agreement. You can make copies, okay.
See 12.1 in the upper right-hand corner, it says mutual aid agreement on the top.
It's under the work session agenda, at least in my stack.
Right here, I got it right here.
Yeah.
Please take it.
Yeah.
So basically, this agreement has been a standing agreement between Lake District Hospital and the school district. Basically, what it boils down to is if there's a disaster or some sort of emergency that we would provide facilities, grounds, equipment. Now, the backside does say, in reference to emergency transportation, and I informed her that we don't have anything capable of pulling a stretcher, so we might want to rethink that, but what we left that open-ended so that if there was any ambulatory patients, we could actually theoretically haul those. If there was a wheelchair patient, we could haul one with the wheelchair bus, the one that we do have. And so they understand that piece. And the reason why they brought it back to us is the fire marshal one, as well as CMS, they're required to have an annual review through that. So the language was open-ended. They didn't care for that. They wanted it just to be annual reviewed. So if you'll look at the very bottom there, it does have dates for annual review. Our side and their side can review, make sure that everything's standing, and if we needed to make any changes. I think this was like a 2008, I believe, is when
The last annual review was?
yeah,
It's been a while.
it's been a little bit.
Okay.
So they got a little bit of a ding, and so we, yeah, so they just needed to do a corrective action.
I'm going to approve a mutual aid agreement with Lake District Hospital.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the mutual aid agreement between us and Lake District Hospital. Any other discussion?
Sorry, I should have said Lake Health District. Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Carries 12-2. DMS overnight field trip. Jen?
Okay, so Mrs. Snyder presented to us, every year she goes to the state conference for the middle school student council, which is in Eugene. She's attached an agenda, that will be happening over the 2 days, which is April 26th and April 27th. She's requesting an overnight stay. She feels that this is a very beneficial event for the kids, for the upcoming student council and that sort of thing. The total that they've actually fundraised for everything, and so it's basically paid for through their fundraising, and they have money left over as well. So they've got rooms for 1 night. She'll be the only chaperone of 7 students, and $243, and the cost of the conference is $60 per person for a total of $420. So she's requesting the overnight stay.
How are they getting giant meeting bus?
Yes.
Would that be at our district cost? Which will be $200?
We'll pay a bus driver on that.
She can-
Or I guess she'll drive, so it will be her wages anyway. And then this will be a reimbursable transportation expense for us because it's educational.
I think it's a good thing. Is one person enough for 7 students? That's not, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it 1 to 10 we're required?
There's no requirement.
There's no requirement. That's too bad. Should have a requirement. 1 for every 2 kids.
Oh,
Then you can have fun. I move we approve Mrs. Snyder's request for the overnight stay.
I'll second.
Motion's been made, seconded to approve the overnight stay for the student council state conference, DMS state conference. Any other discussion?
Other thanks for being willing to go. They have a blast.
All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Should be exciting. Our next board meeting,
The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be the 27th. And so the agenda items I have noted for that is we'll have a MOU to approve KCC, Innovation Learning Center, bringing back the reading of the calendar, HPA policies, RTI.
Yeah, this is calendar on, and I'll bring a report on late start child care.
Yeah, they start childcare.
We kind of need to get the calendar approved, don't we? We should do a second reading, should we do approval?
We could. We could.
A little behind.
Mhm.
So, second
And other than our normal, another financial report, hopefully by then we'll have a lot better idea where we're at.
Budget-wise.
Budget-wise.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 427.